Hello and welcome to The Good, the Bad and the Worst, a podcast where we watch movie trilogies and series and decide which movie, like Italian food made by Mexicans, ain't that special. I'm your host Griner, and joining me today...
In this corner is Conan, the Ronin Clark, and I must break you.
And in this corner is Luke Morgan. And remember, the mind is your best muscle. Big arms can move rocks, but big words can move mountains.
Alright, we're finishing off our Rocky podcasts. Rocky 4, 5 and Rocky Balboa. I'm going to call it Rocky 6 repeatedly. Apologies if you find that offensive. What a turn this series of movies took. I mean, I feel like we should have seen it coming with Rocky 3. Conan kind of, could see the downturn. I think Luke and I were kind of high on Rocky 3.
Yeah, you guys are one of those fans.
But, wow.
I think
they drove off a friggin' cliff.
I bet. I want to know which way, because I feel like depending on your view, there's two types of Rocky fans, and depending on which one you are, this franchise either really comes back around or it gets worse. And I feel like you guys are in one camp where you're like Rocky 3 and 4 are great, and I feel like the other camp is Rocky 3 and 4 are letdowns.
Ooh.
It's just Rocky 4 I think we don't like.
No, see, okay, I don't see how you can be like Rocky 4 bad, Rocky 3 good.
We'll get there, I guess.
They're birds of feathers.
I
birds.
I agree, but I think... Anyway, we'll get to it. One of those birds flew too high and its wings burned off.
Yep.
It's a 30-minute montage.
Yeah.
Just lots of montages of it flying into the sun.
Now, I don't know, watching these movies, I was kind of impressed by the boxer names. They all, I don't know, they're not like quite Bond level of like, what's the word I'm thinking of? They're not like Bond girls Pussy Galore, where they're really obvious double entendres or whatever.
Right.
But they do all seem, to me, anyway, personally, bleed like manliness, and these people are going to punch you in the face. Do you guys feel this way about these names? Like Clubber Lang, Tommy Gun, Mason Dixon. I don't know. There's something manly and just, I don't know, buff about these names to me.
I was thinking a lot about them. There's some that you can tell there's been work gone into it.
Yeah.
Like Stallone sat down and he's thought about it a lot. There's others that I feel like he really didn't. Like Mason the Line Dixon, I think is a weak boxer name.
Well, let's get into it. Let's rank them. So I'll list the ones off. Rocky Balboa, obviously. Spider Rico, Apollo Creed, classic. Clubber Lang, Ivan Drago, Union Kane, Tommy Gunn, and Mason Dixon.
It is. I did put a caveat. Like it's Rocky the Italian Stallion. His name is saved by that, right? Like Apollo Creed. Apollo Creed literally only calls him that for the whole third film. He calls him Stallion.
True. We can add that in there, sure.
Ah, good. Because I feel like a similar principle applies with Mason the Line Dixon. Like,
yeah, I guess you have to put the line in there, don't you?
I believe so.
Worst name.
You put the line in the coconut and throw the can away.
What's the worst name in that list, do you reckon?
Mason. It's Mason the Line Dixon.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's just there's no like you said, there's no sort of pun here. There's no clear like double edge to it, and there's not anything overly intimidating. Like names like Union and Apollo have this kind of like Americanness to it.
Yeah.
Like they're concepts more than people.
Yeah.
Mason Dixon is just.
It just, I don't know, for some reason it just reminds me of Dixie Normus from Austin Powers, which was a much better name. And if his opponent Rocky Balboa was Dixie Normus, I would be like, oh, Rocky, don't do it, man. You're like going to get clobbered.
If it's Rock Hard Balboa versus Dixie Normus, how's that go?
Yep.
Let's rename all these. No, all right. Union Kane, not that exciting.
That was my number 7.
Yeah.
Super forgettable.
On the nose. Yeah.
Where do we go next? I think Tommy Gunn is too on the nose. Personally.
I gave number 6 to Clubber Lang because I think Clubber isn't even a name.
I like Clubber Lang. Something about
Why
that.
Why do people like Clubber Lang?
I don't know. Just makes me feel like I'm going to get hit in the face.
I would put Tommy Gunn below Clubber Lang.
Really? So you guys have Tommy Gunn as number 6?
Yeah, I don't mind Tommy Gunn, and like I swear there's been like 2 professional wrestlers with the name Tommy Gunn. So
Yeah.
it's just no, it takes it out for me. There's
All
Billy
right.
Gunn, there's Tommy Gunn. No.
All right. Look, I'm not gonna fight you on this. I really don't mind. That can be 6.
How do we feel about Spider Rico? The problem is he's not much of a character in the movie, right? He's like one of the random boxes that Rocky fights at the start.
And then he comes back in Balboa, which is nice.
True, he does.
I think Spider's a sick name.
It is pretty cool.
Spider is a sick name.
What is it? Clubber Lang.
I think I would put Spider Rico above Clubber. I think Spider Rico
So I think
sounds.
Clubber Lang and then Spider Rico.
Sure. All right. So we've got Rocky, Apollo, and Ivan Drago. Where do we rank these?
And Thunderlips.
Thunderlips is not a boxer.
Oh, true. He was one of his opponents.
He's a wrestler.
Ivan Drago is like the perfect Russian name. I
It
feel.
really is.
It really just
is.
exemplifies. He looks like Ivan Drago. You could show someone that picture without saying the name Ivan Drago ever, and someone would just be like, "That dude's name is Ivan Drago." Like, I don't know. It's just, it's very him.
I would personally put Rocky at number 3.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it. Like, it's great. It's really, really good. But I think Ivan Drago and Apollo Creed really do it for me for some reason.
Are you basing this on the Italian Stallion pseudonym or not?
Yes, I am. It's just the way it makes me feel.
It'd be higher if it was Rocco Balboa, like Paulie calls him. But
No, I think I can't put Italian Stallion any less than like the number 1 in my personal list. That's like the ultimate boxing name. That's like the the beast from the east sort of thing. The Italian Stallion's up there on the pantheon.
I can't agree personally. That's okay.
You've never thrown hands.
It's true. I've never boxed in any ring.
Luke, what say you?
I'd have to put Rocky in number 3 here.
What the hell's going on?
And then for me, Apollo Creed number 1, Ivan Drago number 2.
Yep.
I mean, those two are right. Apollo Creed is the second best name.
Sure.
Ivan Drago is the third best.
Some formation for top 3 of Apollo, Ivan, Rocky. And then followed by Spider Rico, Clubber Lang, Tommy Gunn, Union Kane, and Mason the Lion Dixon as the worst boxer name from the Rocky movies. We'll have to see if the Creed movies have good names. From what I've seen on the Wikipedia, they're not that exciting. So that's why I decided to do this now. All right, let's get into this trilogy. Let's do some stats. Rocky 4, budget of $28 million, made $300 million at the box office. Rocky 5, $42 million budget, made $119 million. And Rocky Balboa, $24 million budget, the smallest budget of this trilogy, made $155 million.
Can you imagine going to see Rocky 4? Like, all the people who turned out and paid money for Rocky 4, and then coming out and being like, I paid money for that?
I know. How much of that budget went to the freaking robot?
Oh my god.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Rocky Balboa, that's an impressive budget after all that. But
yeah. I'm surprised it was that cheap. I imagine, I don't know, I feel like it must have been a bit of a love job for Stallone.
Project. Yeah.
I wonder how much he financed himself.
Yeah. I'm not actually sure what his career was looking like, but I can't remember him being overly big in the.
In those Expendables movies and stuff like that.
But they came later, I think. Pretty sure they came into like the 2010s. Like, just briefly looking at it, in the 90s, he had his career kind of petered in the 90s. He's like the perfect 80s boy, and so he's got a bunch of things in the 90s, but none of them overly like anything really memorable.
Yeah.
He had Copland in 97, Judge Dredd, which was not good. So that cliffhanger. So he had films that people know, but not overly successful. And then into the 2000s, he's got really nothing. Taxi 3, Shades, Spy Kids 3, and then it's Rocky Balboa.
Expendables isn't until 2010. So
yeah, so these
not that I think they're good movies, but
no, that's definitely like
it was like a resurgence of his career, kind of.
Yeah, it made a lot of people were reintroduced to him with that. So he hadn't really done anything for about 10, 15 years. So I can't imagine I can imagine he probably made this as a passion project and might not have been taking that much of his salary for this. But at the same time, all of the credit to him. It's written, produced, directed, starring, original idea, original characters.
Yeah.
Probably the caterer as well. He likes seeing his name on the marquee.
All right. Critical response 40 on Metacritic. 40% for Rocky 4, 55% for Rocky 5, and 63% for Rocky Balboa. Seems about right to me.
I think, yeah.
Okay, wow, this is going to be interesting because I really, yeah, this is going to be interesting. I guess I have hot takes. I thought these would be cold takes, but I guess I might have hot takes about this trilogy.
If you say Rocky 4 is better than any of the movies we watched, that is pretty criminal.
It's coming. I can see it happening.
Let's get into it. Rocky 4. Rocky Balboa proudly holds the World Heavyweight Boxing Championship, but a new challenger has stepped forward, Drago, a 6'4", 261-pound fighter who has the backing of the Soviet Union. And Rocky solves the Cold War.
Oh, he saves him, man.
This movie is a wonder in the worst possible way. I don't know, where do we get started? There is 40 minutes of film here. In an hour and a half movie, there is 40 minutes of actual film. The rest of it is montage.
Yes.
James Brown
so
songs.
much montage. So it's literally montages. Like it will go from a montage to another montage. Like another song starts up, and I'm like, "What the hell? We haven't even had a scene yet." It's just like, oh.
Yeah. I saw a statistic somewhere there. It's like 31.9% montage. This movie, so it's very nearly a third.
Rocky 4 feels like they had two ideas. Rocky solves the Cold War and Apollo Creed dies. And then he's like, what do we do with the rest? Clip show. And let's just do montages. Like, yeah, this movie just had no ideas, it felt like.
I feel like this movie invented like the tribute video, like that became popular on YouTube because there's literally a 5-minute, I counted, a 5-minute montage of the first 3 films. And the first half of Rocky 4. Like it's like it also does like a montage of the start of the film, and I'm just like, what is this? And he's just driving the whole time. He's just driving.
Yeah. That scene's the best as well because
don't drive in montage. It's dangerous.
It just cuts to him and he's just staring. He's not doing anything. He's not training. He's not like crying or yelling. He's just staring ahead.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? We know you're driving. Doesn't even matter that he's driving. We don't need it.
And it's not like the start of the movie started with like a recap as well. Like this is not even the first recap we've had in this film, and then we get another 5-10 minute one in the middle. It's
bizarre.
Apollo deserved better than dying in this film, and I still can't. It's been 2 weeks since I watched it. I can't wrap my head around the robot. I didn't know what I was watching when it happened. I was just like, what is this? Oh my god! It's like it's just so tonally different than the other films.
It's 1980. It's 1985. There's kilos of cocaine in every production house. Like this is the future seems wonderful. Reagan's in the White House, just telling you that anything can happen. What else? Yep. What better personifies that than a robot maid who Paulie's probably having sex with? Like it's all there, man.
That robot knows him inside and out.
It's so creepy. There's a couple of lines about it are very creepy.
Yeah. There's a line in the Wikipedia that says the robot was written into the film to help treat Stallone's son for autism. I don't even really know what that means. Like that sentence is weird to me. But I don't understand. It's just it feels like it comes out of nowhere.
Legitimately, the robot's looking after the kids, like by the end of the film.
Yeah,
they're both in Russia, and the robot's looking after the kids. This is beyond Goku level, like you mentioned last podcast, Grinder. This is like the government needs to be called to this house. These kids need to be taken away from these parents. These are awful parents.
Yeah, such bad family. It's pretty great as well. The robot lets them just watch the fight. And it's like, there's a good chance Rocky's going to die.
Yes.
Like this 260-pound Russian dude
who killed their best friend, family friend.
Yes.
And they're just like, it's cool. You can watch this, small children with your... And there's 2 other friends there as well. Their parents are like, cool, a robot's going to look after our kids. What was happening in the 80s? People,
they're all doing cocaine.
Yeah, the parents as well, I guess. Everyone was just sniffing.
Grana, I want your opinion. Like, had you had like Apollo's death spoiled for you at all, or did it come as a shock watching the film? when you watch it?
I think I knew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew someone had died, and I thought it was Apollo, but
Yeah.
it's pretty hectic that they do that. Like I don't know, but
Like I say, like I think that's a good idea. Like I think that's a good direction for this movie to go. It's a really good way to set up a villain for this movie.
yeah,
It's, you know, we already had 3 movies of Rocky and Apollo's broship. Like it's a great idea. It's where this movie should have gone. It's just the tone of this movie doesn't fit around something that's a pretty, you know, it's a pretty big deal to this franchise that Apollo Creed dies.
Yeah.
And he dies in this movie with this stupid robot.
Like,
I just need a scene of the robot being like, Apollo, no! Like,
it feels like this movie's part of either like a contract that they needed to make another one, or Stallone was just like super drunk on power and was like, I want more money and I want to make stuff, so he made it. Because it feels like a greatest hits almost. It feels like they're just like, let's film scenes from the other one. Let's have the barest possible script, which is literally, you know, friend dies, we have to fight. Let's go train and fight. There is no character between it.
No.
And so the whole Apollo thing seems just like kind of like a really convenient choice, right? Like, how do we make this 20-minute script we have any emotional weight? So
Yeah.
kill somebody. It's like, well, kill Apollo. And so you've got a movie there from that, and it's because it is like the Rocky films kind of take swings like that, in no pun intended, maybe, in terms of there's always an emotional heft behind it. Like in Rocky Balboa, Adrian dies, which is kind of a nice way to sort of anchor it.
Yeah.
And having Apollo die, this is like, oh yeah, you do care about it, because as Rocky 3 ended on the greatest freeze frame of all time with their bromance. And so to have him die, it's like, okay, I am invested in watching him. But like you say, granted, then it becomes literally like a Cold War parable.
Yes.
That's the strangest ending when Gorbachev
my
gets up, it's like
God.
applauding him. Like, what's
Yes.
going on?
Yeah.
Americans aren't all bad. And then like the speech is just like, if I could change, then our countries can change. And everyone's just like, yes. And
like communist Russia, they're applauding the Americans. Like, no, they're getting shot.
Yeah, this movie is wild.
Yeah.
No one is seeing that event outside of that country. That's not airing to other countries. That's been wiped from history. Rocky doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, Rocky just disappears. Whatever.
Yeah.
He falls off that mountain he's been climbing.
The whole fight's really stupid too. Like the way the Russian people all of a sudden love Rocky. Like Rocky's not doing anything interesting in that fight. There's no, like in a lot of the other movies, there's like, oh, this is Clubber Lang style, so you're gonna have to fight like this if you want to beat him, or this is how Apollo Creed fights, so if you want to beat him, you're gonna have to learn to fight with your right hand, or whatever. Like, you know, there's a strategy going on. There's something for us who don't really know what's going on in boxing to look out for. There's none of that in this movie. It's just like a straight fight. There's no, and he's just bigger than him. That's the whole point. And now all of a sudden the Russian people are like they're all behind him, cheering him on by the end. It just doesn't earn it. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's the whole like he's an underdog and therefore he can just take a beating, but it's never explained or explored properly. Like they delve into that more in Balboa, and they already delved into it a bit with number 2, or even with number 1. I guess it's like he can take a beating.
Yes,
and that's why he can go 15 rounds when he shouldn't be able to. But yeah, this one's just kind of, like I said, it's just all the old tricks. There's nothing new. There's nothing interesting. It's just Rocky good.
Even his training montage is like propaganda. It's like this, you know, this American grit and determination. He's running through the snow and he's splitting logs in half. And then there's Drago, who's getting injected full of chemicals and training in a lab. And it's
pretty great. Like the polish on Drago, how he's just completely like hairless, and Rocky gets hairier and he's just like pulling a sleigh, and then it cuts to there's absolutely no subtlety in this movie. It's like
no.
I should have read the history, because I feel like there would be a fascinating history behind this movie, and like it's a real sort of cult gem. I think a lot of people who grew up and saw this loved it, because it's so like
America good, Russia bad.
Yeah, and like for a kid, it's a really easy film to understand, right? If you're young and you're looking for something, and a lot of 80s movies like this, a lot of Arnold films, they all sort of have this basic, you know, one good American guy versus waves of non-American enemies.
Communist enemies, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just easy for kids to watch and go, oh yeah, cool. This is the good guy. This is the world. good triumphs. Like, this movie can appeal to that pretty easily. You got the bad, evil Russian who's 6 feet taller. And so I can see why there's an appeal to it, but that's not a good thing, right? The movie, it's bad. It's just But I just feel like there would be a real story behind this. It's like why it got made. Because if you take a step back, it's like this movie shouldn't even exist. It makes no sense why it was ever made. Like, was it made as propaganda? Or was it?
It really feels like it, doesn't it? Like, it feels like he had a contract with the American government. Please make a propaganda film for us. Yeah. Okay, I've got 2 ideas and some montages and a robot. Here you
go. And like, even
James Brown for 3 minutes.
Yes, and James Brown.
Even some of the montages, like some of the songs, like they're obviously trying to recapture like this epicness of the montages we've had in the other films. But like some of the songs, it's like they've written it for the movie, and it feels like it's just like it's Russia versus America, and it's just like no, it's East versus West, and I'm like, okay, no, just calm it down. And was it just me, or like I wrote a note on it because I was just like, it really seems like, and I don't know if it's ego or what's happened. But like Stallone's acting is different in this one than the first 3. Where I feel like, I don't know if it's like he doesn't want to look silly or stupid or like do dumb crying. He doesn't even like really cry when Apollo dies. Like he's just trying to look cool, I feel like. And I just feel like his acting's changed for the worse. Like he's a worse actor in this than he is in the first 3 films, I feel like. I don't know why, but.
You go, Cradle.
I was just going to say, it doesn't feel like he's got a heart in this movie. Like, he doesn't feel like he's loved his little child like the rest of the movies kind of do in a lot of ways. Like his project, his pet project. Despite it being written and directed by him again, like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like he's got the heart there. Possibly.
His like that funeral scene is pretty atrocious. He just kind of like badly narrates, like gives a really bad eulogy, really wooden performance. It's like, this is the best you got, man? Really? Feels like it was a first draft. I feel like his acting in this reminded me of number 3. I know you guys were big fans of number 3, but I feel like 80s Stallone, like, I truly feel like he's in a different mode. For about 10 years, he's a different man. And I feel like you saw it in Rocky 3, and then you see it in this as well, where he's a lot more, like, I think he's aware that he's a movie star. And I think he's trying not to show any weakness. So he's kind of trying to perpetuate that image of like this, of action hero. And that's why his movie choices like that. He makes things like Cobra and Demolition Man, where he's so beyond absurdly like. That's why we have the stereotype of the 80s hero now, because Stallone is basically like, I want to be that.
Yeah.
So I feel like in these 2 movies, he's really conscious of that. And it's not until 5 that he starts to realize he can do more.
I feel like for me, 3 gets away with it because they kind of give a reason for him to start talking differently. Like he's come into money. I can see him having elocution lessons and learning how to speak correctly because he's doing so do I actually. But he's doing advertising now, obviously, to make all this money. Like, I feel like 3 for me personally justifies it, and 4 is just continuing on with that. But it doesn't. There is 0 character development for Rocky in this movie.
Yeah. You're completely right.
He's got, even like they kind of start touching on his relationship with his son in like 1 scene, but then they do nothing with it. He just takes off to Russia and doesn't see him again for the rest of the movie.
And they nod to it with Adrian as well, where he's like, he never mentions his plan. He's like, by the way, I've got to go to Russia and fight this guy on Christmas Day.
On Christmas. These kids are there with a robot on Christmas Day.
And she's just like, no, don't. And then she goes there anyway. And it's like, but there's no tension there. Like, what's going on here?
The thing that like cracks me up, like with this whole thing, is like they have the whole argument where she's like, and for this, like, you know, you're going to fight this guy, you're willing to sacrifice everything. And what that implies to me, and what a normal sane person would like take from that is, oh, you're willing to die and sacrifice me, sacrifice your kid. Like your kid will, not have a father because you died. And Rocky turns around and he's like, this isn't everything. The house, the cars, the money. This isn't everything, Adrian. I need to fight him. It's like he doesn't even think about like what
his family.
But it's like the movie doesn't think about that. It's like that's what it's like. It's like it's actually his response. I don't know. I don't get it.
Because that becomes the same problem later in another one. They say that where he's like, I don't want to lose everything, and she's like, what, the house, the money? That doesn't matter.
Yeah, 5, yeah.
Twice this happens, and yeah, I think you're right. The movies don't seem to compute that. It's like
That's not what could happen.
That's what's meant to.
Losing the fame and the money isn't the worst thing that could happen. You could die, and your son could grow up.
Yeah, but yeah, neither of them address it. It's funny.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys see there that Rocky came out and made a director's cut for this movie? In 2021, he removed the robot from the film.
So this happened, did it? Because I heard about
Yes.
this on something. Okay.
I wish I'd watched this version.
So yeah, I was wondering if we should have had a bit more of a look into it. So his quote was, "The robot is going to the junkyard forever. No more robot." So the robot is cut from the film. He cuts the celebration of his wedding anniversary a week early from the film, and the Soviet leaders no longer applaud Rocky at the end of the fight.
Good choice, because that was stupid.
Yeah.
So how long is this director's cut? Like
It's actually longer. No, it's actually longer because there's more. There's a longer recap of Rocky 3.
Oh my god.
And there's extensions to the fight scenes and the Apollo Creed funeral.
Oh, what?
I kind of want to watch it out of some morbid curiosity, but
Me too. That goes to speak though that there wasn't even like actual material that they cut. This wasn't a poor job in editing or anything. It's like, no, they never filmed a good movie here.
no.
Out of all the raw footage, there was never enough for a good film.
I wonder. Yeah.
They just made crap, and then when he makes his director's cut, he's just like, let's put in more of the crap.
I really want to see the scenes if they like with them cutting the robot out. I wanted to see like, so there's no scenes of the kids watching them on Christmas. It's just like kids are forgotten about after that point, or like what's
good question?
Is that whole dinner at the start? I'm interested to see those scenes without
Paulie's
the robot.
really, really depressing birthday. Is that cut? Like, I don't know. It'd be
Rocky's
interesting.
like, I got
to see.
something good for you, and then never elaborates.
It's just kind of ends. Maybe it's just like edited over. It's just like poor green screen effect over it.
I mean, it was done in 2021, so there's probably good effects done to it, but I don't know.
I like the idea of Stallone doing it himself. He doesn't fully know how to use green screen.
Tape.
Photoshops a woman instead of a robot. Like, hi, Paulie.
It just slides
I
in.
got you a woman, Paulie.
Yes, give me that one.
I just want to say, is Ivan Drago the most action figure looking dude you've ever seen in your life? Like, he's shaped like an action figure. It's like ridiculous, man.
The hair you can set your watch to. It's perfect.
Yeah,
Video game.
It is good.
Video game.
How does it stand up like that? I mean, and like he's got 4 lines of dialogue. Like you can tell like they're like, we need a Russian. Like, I'm convincing myself that this was produced by the government. He's got 4 lines of dialogue. His name is like just the 2 most Russian sounding words you can think of put together.
Yeah.
He has literally no purpose or character besides I must destroy like the West.
And he kills a beloved character that's been in 3 movies with 4 lines of dialogue.
Yeah. I mean, look, his wife speaks for him a lot. I didn't mind that, like the whole Russian entourage coming over to the US. It was fine, but you're right. It feels so much like propaganda. I can't find any evidence of but maybe Stallone had some unpaid tax debts or something that he was trying to clear. I'm not sure. The government had something on him.
Maybe like he avoided Vietnam or something.
He's a draft dodger. Don't know. We can't start spreading rumors. All right, Rocky 5. Shall we move on to it? Rocky 5. Reluctant retired from fighting, Rocky takes charge of Mickey's gym and agrees to train a young protege who's hungry for success.
So, okay, so I came in not expecting to like have to really defend this or anything. I really feel like this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Do you think this is worse than 4?
By a mountain.
Wow.
Here's the thing. Even though 4 is all montage, at least Ivan Drago is iconic, and you got the Apollo death. This movie, I don't know if I was just in a bad headspace or what, but I hated this movie, and it was like throughout it, I was like here's the thing. I said in the last one, I watched like the first 3 in like 24 hours. I was like on a Rocky roll. I was like, man. And then as soon as I finished it, I watched Rocky 4. I was like, ooh, okay, that's a bit of a downer. But then I watched Rocky 5 like 2 days later. And And then it's taken me a week and a half to watch the next Rocky after Rocky 5. Rocky 5 killed it for me, where I was like, I don't want to watch any more of this crap. I don't know if it's genius or what, that like, he has his head bashed in so much that he reverts to how he was in the first movie again. Like he starts wearing, but it's as if like it just puts him back to the same character. Like he goes back to the same place, wears the same clothes again, starts bouncing the ball again, and just like it literally feels like a bad excuse for Stallone to be like, okay, I've taken it too far with Rocky 4, obviously. I need to go back to ground roots, so I'm going to act this. And it feels like he's acting stupid. Luke, it doesn't feel authentic anymore. It doesn't feel like this underdog. So it feels like, am I watching a documentary on like concussions? Like, and this is like how bad things can get if you get brain damage. Because like, him talking to his son, it just feels different after watching the last two movies where he's eloquent and he's talking properly. And then he goes back to this and he's like, it seems like the first scene when he's walking around with his son and talking to him in the room, it seems like his son's just like, Jesus Christ, who are you? Like, you're acting really weird. This is really strange. And I don't know, the whole fight outside in like on the street with all the people around him is so stupid and cheesy. And I don't know. I couldn't get on board.
Stupider than fighting in Russia with
it
the
is,
Russian.
Yes.
No.
Yes, no. It is. For me, and I just thought, I don't know. I didn't think, oh, wow. For some reason, I just thought we were all going to go into this, that Rocky 5 was the worst. Because I was just like, oh, it was horrible. I really felt like this is one of the worst movies I've ever watched in my life. I did not enjoy watching it at all as I was watching it. And it wasn't until this podcast started, and you were like talking about Rocky 4 being the bad one, and you said the Metacritic scores. I was like, what is going on? Why am I so out of the loop with this thing? Okay.
Look, I don't love this movie. I don't have any real love for this movie. I still don't think it's a very good movie, but it's better than 4. It's better than 4 in my opinion. I think the stuff with the kid is reasonably interesting. Like, at least they're trying to branch out and show what's going on with the effect of the life that Rocky leads on his son. They don't do a lot with it, admittedly. Like, his son beats up the bully, and then
his son's a better actor than him.
That solves the problem, kind of.
I feel like. I don't mind the stuff with the son, honestly. That I'd forgotten about that. I don't mind that.
We get the weird drawing of the nude French teacher. That reminds me of the sketch that Dennis does in Always Sunny.
The exact same thought.
Compare those sketches, and I think they're identical. I don't know if Always Sunny was doing a bit of a parody there, but
just interesting to note, Rotten Tomatoes agrees with me.
Okay.
I mean, no one cares about that, but
Rocky 5 is 31%.
I mean,
compared to Rocky 4's what?
37%. Wow.
So they're both stinkers. Yeah,
they're both bad. Of the barrel. But yeah, I
do feel like because Metacritic's obviously gauged at the time. It's like, this is what people thought when they saw it. I do feel like since then, this is what I was saying before, where there's like 2 separate Rocky camps. There is sort of like, there's 1, 2, 5, and 6, and there's 3 and 4. And the 3 and 4 kind of have, like, a lot of people think of Rocky as, all that iconic stuff we've talked about, the montage, the freeze frame, the Apollo Creed, him fighting at the end with that stuff, like Clubber Lang, all this stuff. Like, all I knew of Rocky before coming into this was Ivan Drago, and was that Rocky ended the Cold War, that Apollo Creed dies. Like, I knew all the iconography comes from pretty much those films, except for like the running up the stairs.
Yep.
But I feel like those are, some people, that's their Rocky, is like that kind of the cheese, the silliness, the goofiness. And for the other camp is the character stuff, this is an underdog and he wants his fair go, blah blah blah. And 5 is a return to all of that. You're right, it's not the best return. It's definitely, there's some things that are pretty ham-fisted, some things that are poorly handled. But I still think it's a much better direction. Like, it actually tries to say at least something. It's like, it's dealing with legacy, it's dealing with the idea of, like, what else can you do with this franchise? We saw what happens after 4 movies. He ends the Cold War with a fist fight.
Then he was able to retire.
And this is like, and this goes, no, that's stupid. Don't be silly. Like, what happens if he was to lose all his money? Yeah, it's dumb because it's like in 2 minutes, like, Paulie somehow lost our money and we're now
Paulie put it all on sports.
Of course, it was Paulie though. Of course, it was Paulie.
Naturally, and Rocky's just like, oh, it's okay. He's still out for it.
sorry, IMDb also has 6.8 for Rocky 4 and 5.3 for Rocky 5.
Yeah.
So I'm not alone.
Like, no, general consensus is kind of, I think number 5 is disliked because it's forgotten. Because out of the whole Rocky thing, it's like there's 1 and 2 are good, 3 and 4 are fun and different. 5 is like 1 and 2, but not as good. So I just don't think anyone cares about it.
Yeah.
But I think based on its own merits, it's a much better film than 4, man. It's so much better.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. It definitely feels like a movie time forgets, right? Like, I don't think it's a movie I will think about after this podcast, but I will possibly think about 3 and 4 and that freaking robot. Like, that might come up. But yeah, it's interesting to see Rocky like lose his money, go back to his roots, and yeah, his legacy, right? And like, and how his fighting has affected his son. His son gets a stupid dangly earring, which is just weird. Maybe
that's why Rocky didn't want to be a parent to him. He just favoured all Tommy Gunn and didn't talk to his son anymore.
He's like, this is a real man with a mullet. That's my boy.
His name's Tommy Gunn.
It's a great parallel, right? Like his actual son and like choosing his family versus choosing himself. It's like, I could choose another boxer like me because he could. And he even says it in a very on the nose statement to his son. He's like, seeing you have all the opportunities I never had, it's like living through you. So he's clearly saying, that's Rocky values. So he sees Tommy and he's like, this is him selfishly living through this surrogate in Tommy who can relive all his glory.
Yeah.
Whilst his actual son, his actual legacy is going to waste because he can't see past himself. Like, that's a pretty powerful thing. This idea of legacy versus family, what's really important. Like, your own failings and that whole, what would I do if I had a different chance, and always pining for what you've lost or what you missed out on versus what you could actually have if you saw what's probably like. That's really good. That's really good timeless stuff. And it's not handled the best, but I still think it's a really engaging arc.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's in line with Rocky's character. Like he always just sees himself as a boxer. I'm just a fighter. I can't do anything else. And he's always like, oh, my son, you're so much smarter than me. You're so smart. You're going to be a rocket scientist or whatever. Like, how does he relate to his son? And in this movie, he doesn't. Like, he does a really bad job at it. And we even, in the next movie, kind of see the consequences of that in some ways. Like, they have a pretty rocky relationship. It is healed after one quick conversation, but we'll get to that. Yeah, the street fight. I appreciate them trying to do something different, because we have had 4 movies that end with a boxing match. Obviously, we need a fight. But how else do you do that? I don't think a street fight is a bad solution to that.
But it's nowhere near as good as any of the boxing fights have been. Like, it just feels...
I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah.
I found it more entertaining because it's like it is real fists, man. It's real fists this time. It's not gloves.
Oh no.
They're constantly saying, Rocky's a street fighter. I'm like, he has not done any street fighting that we've seen in any of the movies. I know he was an enforcer for the mob for a while or whatever, so he probably has beat some dudes up. But
he's got a dark past.
Although all we ever saw of that was him letting people off too.
Yeah, getting in trouble for being too soft.
That's true. I would like a flashback of him just like killing 2 dudes for 20 bucks. It's like, oh no, I get it now.
I've made mistakes in my past. That slimy promoter, and he's like, if you touch me, I'll sue. If you touch me, I'll sue. Sue me for what?
He was he was very irritating. Like,
yes,
rapid fire talk. He never stops. But he's obviously meant to be, again, not handled well, not a nuanced character, but like does the job. But these movies are all, they're all emotionally manipulative. They all appeal, I think, to basic stuff to get you in. Like, the son becomes a rebellious little turd who's best friends with his bullies after one quick fight as well.
Yeah.
They're at his house eating pizza.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh man, this is cool. Thanks, man. You beat me up.
That was fast. Yeah. And all that stuff is pretty dumb, but it's also seeing a son yell at his father is like, oh, I get that. That's kind of powerful. Seeing this guy who just doesn't stop talking and is so annoying, it's like he makes you angry at him. Like, yeah. So that's not so bad.
Tommy Gunn's got that kind of small town charm to him, I guess, in some ways that Rocky kind of had in the first movie. And like he seems kind of simple. He's not built for getting out there and promoting himself or knowing what to do. He's just a hard worker and he's going to get it done. Obviously, that changes throughout the movie, but I think he's
down the wrong path.
Yeah, he's not a bad surrogate for Rocky, like to mirror to Rocky. Like it's not, again, that's not done well, but it kind of works.
Yeah, I do want to know because the first time they meet, he fights right. Rocky's really angry at him. He's like, "I told you to stop hitting, like, go easy, stop hitting this guy." And then as soon as the fight's over, he's like, "Wow, we should train him." And it's like, I wish there'd been a lot more of like, "No, I won't train you because you don't listen," and he would actually have to
don't have
change.
morals, almost.
Yeah, it's just a really quick, like, he's clearly rough, and they're like, "Oh no, you're not ready for this." But then it just becomes almost instantly like, "No, but you got grit, and I'll train you." And then he's like, the next scene, he's like, "You're like my son, man. It's all real. It's hackneyed."
Let me replace my own son.
Yeah, go down sleep in my son's room. My son will find somewhere else to sleep.
These movies do that a bit where they like introduce a character, kind of start like some sort of arc for that character, and then just lose it. And it's all about Rocky the whole way through. None of the other characters really matter. It's a bit of a problem.
I know. It feels like so many of these movies are like, we made a mistake making Adrian have a kid. We've really written ourselves into a box. Now we'll forget about him in a bunch of scenes. Like, I don't know. If he didn't have a kid, then I feel like Rocky V, with this whole thing about this guy being like, "Oh, this is my chance." Like, I didn't, Adrian couldn't have kids, so this is like my chance, and like living through him. And then obviously you got everything with his actual son in that, but I don't know, just with 3 and even 2, I believe, like how they just completely abandon the kids all the time. It's as if they're forgotten about, like, and it's not written as if this is a dad so much. So until it's like we need to address it. But I don't know.
We didn't talk about the most egregious thing though. Between these films, his son has aged like 7 or 8 years at least, and I don't think that much time has passed. I feel like it's meant to be like a year or 2 later.
Yeah.
His son has just quadrupled in age.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if that was an oversight.
Because is it the same actor?
No, maybe. But I mean, these films are made 5 years apart.
Yeah, I know.
But I don't think they're set apart.
No, they're not set that far apart, are they?
Is it set literally? It finishes with Rocky IV, and he's in the shower, like, "Oh, now my head hurts."
That's
and now
goes
home. So it's like set straight after, and his son's like, "I'm 5 years older, Dad."
No, it's different. So the one
that
here
fight went forever.
This was Sage Stallone in number 5.
Yeah,
it wasn't in number 4, I don't think.
No. Yeah, look, bad oversight. Oh, again, maybe this didn't care. Maybe this is like the Breaking Bad universe. Time doesn't really matter.
Like I see the argument for why there's more plot in 5 and why I didn't enjoy 4 either. Like, no, because 4 has no plot. Trust me, I know.
There's no plot in 4, man.
But I didn't enjoy 5, and I guess I'm a fan of montages too much because there was something there that spoke to me,
When you saw the same scene 4 times, like, I do love that stuff.
Oh my god, I remember this scene. Yep, so good.
You just have a real patriotism for America, don't you?
Yep, such.
Are you a James Brown fan? You a big fan of the Godfather of Soul?
No, not really.
Seeing the whole song in there, you're like, I mean...
That was a really long intro for Apollo Creed, wasn't it?
Doesn't stop.
Really hamming it up.
The best part of that is just watching Ivan Drago look around. He's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Bloody Americans and their excess.
Kill him, Ivan. Kill him.
He just chomps into a turnip. That's right.
All right. Rocky Balboa. 30 years after the ring of the first bell, Rocky Balboa comes out of retirement and dons his gloves for the final fight against the reigning heavyweight champion, Mason the Lion Dixon. Obviously, 16 years since the previous movie for this one.
I love requels.
Yeah.
I think I didn't realize how much I enjoyed them. And I love the nostalgia. I love the 2000s aesthetic of this movie. Kind of like I think it was shot on digital, kind of has a sort of shine to it that like...
The bright lights and stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
and it just looks a little bit artificial, but there's something really nice about it. Like I'm thinking Collateral has it, Million Dollar Baby has it, Crash has it, and these all came out like the early 2000s.
Yeah, it does
yeah.
feel a lot like those movies. You're right.
And like the sentimental music, I had real like Clint Eastwood sort of requel vibes, like Gran Torino and stuff. I'm like, I love this stuff. It's my jam. And this movie's good. This
It
movie's
is
really
good.
good. Luke, if you say this isn't as good as four, I'm gonna punch your teeth out.
No, God, no. It definitely, this is. Oh, here's the thing. I knew coming into this one, I was like, okay, I know this one's better than 5
Yeah.
4. So I was looking forward to it, and it's just, I was a bit rockied out after my 5 Rocky movie marathon in 5 days. But I watched this today, actually. So I'd held it off
All
till
right.
today. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was surprised, like when it opens, and obviously Adrian's dead. I was like, oh, the actress must have died between then, and then looked it up, and no, she's still alive today.
Yeah.
And it was just they were like, oh no, she could have been in the film, but they thought that it'd be good for Rocky to have this. Like he doesn't have much. Like there's not like a light in his life, and that's why he feels really down and stuff like that. But it is interesting that they choose to have her die like a year or two ago before the movie starts, and not to have her in it in some way. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing as you, Luke. I thought, oh, maybe she died, but yeah, and it was an interesting choice. I like it though. Like, I appreciate the way this movie starts, and they're doing that. Like the
tour.
The tour, that's what they call it. They're driving around and reminiscing, and Paulie being like, I don't have good memories of her. Like I treated her like shit, and I was a bad person.
He doesn't want to.
I don't want to
like
do
that.
this anymore. Like that was, I don't know. There was something to that was kind of powerful. Because Paulie's a dick. I don't like Paulie generally.
The worst character. The
Horrible.
worst
He's
dude,
He
man.
is a bad person, but him admitting it and like, I don't know. There's something to that. There's something. Yeah, it was good.
It's interesting that it's the only like it's that one acknowledgement as well. It's never come back to. It's never like re-acknowledged. It's never kind of like addressed. It's kind.
Dude,
That's it. He's really weird, but it's also like it's incredibly powerful because that one time you see him finally admit it, you're like, oh, this guy wouldn't ever admit he's wrong, and you can see it. Right? He never ever does anything good, and so that one moment is really like, oh shit, yeah, he does actually. He's not a sociopath. He doesn't just completely. He's not completely oblivious to people's feelings. He knows he's a scumbag, and there's something to that.
like that's the thing. He's like a woman basher, and he's beating up his sister one scene. He's banging a robot in another one. But then in like Rocky, in Rocky 5, though, he's looking after Rocky's son. Like he's teaching him to fight, and also almost doing something good. Where he's like, no, Rocky shouldn't be messing with Tommy Gunn. Like he should be looking with you here. I'm teaching you to do. I'm like teaching you the ropes, and that was interesting. It's like, okay, he's redeeming himself in a little way here. But yeah, no, I really liked him basically calling it like I was an asshole. And like and you get the feeling like he never had like a moment with her of forgiveness or anything like this.
No.
Like it's like he never really got around to owning that.
It was never resolved.
While she was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. It's good.
Yeah, that's really. I like that. Yeah, I admire that these films do what you said before as well. Like they keep sort of stripping Rocky back whenever whenever he does something good. It's like it's never overly dramatic except in 5 where he just loses all his money. But it's just kind of life brings him down.
His brain and everything.
And his brain. Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot. It's a bit whatever. Bit of like in the second one, he just can't adjust to fame because it's hard when you've gone from nothing to something.
Yeah.
In 3, what happens in 3 again?
He's a superstar.
Well, no, he's got the ego, right? Like he's got
his ego.
Stripped
That's
back
right,
there, yeah.
He's got a god complex. And then in this, it's just like time. And they talk about that a fair bit where he's like, time catches up to all of us. And it's like, yeah, that's, what happens to this boxer who, like this warrior at one time, like he ages. And when he ages, he's just kind of brought down like everyone else. And it's really, it's really powerful, I reckon.
Yeah, I love that he like the restaurant's called Adrian, and he obviously owns it, but like he just walks around telling boxing stories. Like everything about him is just reliving the glory days.
Yeah, what did you guys think of the sort of the main dramatic arc in this? Seems to be him and Marie, that girl from the first movie.
Yeah,
which I forgot was a thing, but like that's most of this of this film.
It is,
right?
yeah.
Like, what did you guys think of that?
It took me a minute. I'm like, is that the girl that he was calling a hoe in the first movie?
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah.
It was good. It was interesting. In some parts, it almost feels like a faux romantic relationship in a kind of a strange way. But I didn't mind it. Like it was interesting and kind of complex. Yeah. He's relentlessly like trying to help her though. Like absolutely relentless. I don't know.
Intense. It's just like, hey, have this job, and she's like, no, I'm good. He's like, no, take the damn job, okay?
Yeah.
Or I'll let a truck run me over.
That's all right.
Okay, Jesus Christ, I'll
Goodness
do it.
sakes.
But calm down, man.
It's like, I'm here the next day. I'm going to change that light bulb, which is like the brightest light bulb on the face of the earth. It like lights up the whole city.
Hold over.
I don't know. There was a part of me like when they were talking, I turned to my wife. I was like, this isn't a romantic thing, is it? I was like, because that's a bit weird. That's a bit weird if it crosses that line. Because obviously she was a kid when he was an adult, like, and he's telling her to not be a whore. She goes over like, but obviously it seems like there's something there. But he's like, oh no, I'm still like Adrian's my girl. Like,
they
with her,
address that.
there's
right?
obviously an attraction there because she does a little kiss on the lips, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. She was a good actress, though. I thought she was good, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah, I like the way it sort of ties it back to its roots, and it's just him trying to do something good, like some bit of good, and it's
in
like,
his community.
Yeah, and he's a part of this, and it's like this is a person. Yeah, he's interacted with this person 30 years ago. She's still here. He can still be here. It seems like it doesn't seem like the direction it would go in, but I think it was really wise because it doesn't just focus on the father-son thing. That's kind of a side part, which I think is good. And so kind of, I don't know, it just broadens the scope of his sort of drama rather than just being a father-son story, which isn't necessarily bad, but it just creates a bit more. And they talk about this, like how when you're in a place long enough, it becomes you. Like Paulie says that, and
you become that place.
Yeah, Rocky says it as well. So it's a really nice way to tie it all together, I reckon.
So
yeah, like you said it in Rocky as well. Like the city is really part of this movie, and you feel that again in this movie as well. Like I appreciate them going back to that.
Yeah, what a shitty neighborhood though.
Yeah, really shitty neighborhood.
God.
So just touching on the enigma that is Paulie again, like he's being obviously very racist in saying where he just meets someone of color and he's like, "Who's the criminal? Hide your silverware."
That's right.
Where he's just like blatantly racist, which he seems like the type of character that would be like that. Everyone's got a racist uncle, but it's like, but then like he's saying that these people need therapy, blah blah blah. And me and my wife are like, man, if anyone needs some therapy, it's Paulie, like in this thing. And then the next thing he's like, it's almost like he has done therapy. He's in the meat works, like when it's all closed and everything. He's painting.
Oh, yeah,
he's like being
picture.
really deep with Rocky and getting Rocky to cry, and like it's as if he's learned like therapy techniques all of a sudden. Paulie, I'm like, what? Man, Paulie's a strange dude. I don't know. It's there's like 4 different Paulies, and then he gets fired. He's an alcoholic again, yelling at people in the bar. I'm just like, oh god, it's just
like undiagnosed
Paulie trilogy.
Yeah, undiagnosed bipolar or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. The computer fight. I thought that was a really fun way to make Rocky relevant, I guess, to a modern boxer. Because, like, how does this fight ever come about other than that? I don't know.
I completely forgot this was because I'd already seen this movie years ago.
Yeah.
I completely forgot that was the driving arc, because I read the description and I was like, why is he fighting this world champion 30 years ahead? I'm like,
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I agree. It's a really good way to just go. It's speculation. It goes out there, and it feels very 2006. Like this.
Yeah.
We've computer generated a fight between these two people.
I loved how they're always like, it's not just up to our opinion. We're going to get the actual results from the computer, because the computer will know what would have happened. It's like, come on now.
Can predict the future.
This is edutainment at best.
Yeah.
We used 2 PSPs to run this simulation, and a copy of Fight Night 2.
I want to watch a spin-off of Rocky becoming a lawyer. Him arguing with the licensing board.
Yeah.
He's like, "Dude, I got some rights. They're written down there somewhere." No, that's the pursuit of happiness. I don't know. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that little moment. I don't know. Like, they reversed their decision, obviously, for no reason. But
very quickly. And
yes,
That speech was so damn convincing.
It would be a good show. He just goes into court cases and this murderer, he's got rights too. It's like, amen, Rocky. Amen. But there's a lot of that. Like you said, there's this part with his son where he has one conversation with his son, and then it turns around.
Yeah, it was resolved a little too quickly for my taste.
Yeah,
I mean, that's an impressive as hell monologue that he does.
It is.
Sure.
Hey, if that doesn't inspire you to love your father all of a sudden, I don't know.
I think if my dad was ever like, I used to be able to hold you in my hand, I'd be like, shh, come here, Dad. You know, we'd hug for the first time. So I can see why it worked, but it does spend a lot of time building up the unspoken tension. And like, you know, I'm in your shadow constantly. And then he's just like, nah, it's cool. We're good now. It's a bit of a shame.
I'm just going to lean into it. We'll be right.
Yeah, whatever. I like the shade.
I enjoyed the final fight, like being shot as a TV sports show. Like the
It felt
whole,
like a real fight.
The whole scene changes. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was well done.
Yeah.
I think we get more of that in Creed, as far as I can tell. Like that.
I think it's filmed more like a boxing program is. Yeah.
I can't actually remember.
Is it? I don't know. From what I've seen, the little bits and pieces, but
we'll see.
We'd have to. I mean, there's no use speculating, but I thought it was filmed just as a normal fight. But either way, it's a good direction, especially like you're saying, how after we have 4 films where the final is just one boxing match.
Yeah,
it's good to keep it fresh. It's like, this is still a boxing fight, but yeah, it's not just the same as we've seen. It's a bit weird seeing Stallone. Just like, he's very, very old. And like, his skin's quite, he's in incredible shape. Like,
exactly.
Incredible
like
shape.
Yeah.
But like, his skin is a lot looser. And you just like, there are scenes where you see like, oh man, there's something.
58, man. He's 58.
That's the thing. There is something so not. I really can't throw shade because one punch from him would kill me. It's just weird. It's just weird seeing like super fit dudes as they age and see the body, just like that contrast of like, you've gotten so old, but your body's still holding on to peak physical perfection.
Yeah,
it disarms me. I guess it disarms me a lot.
So I think
chemicals that help.
Was Tom Cruise the same? Tom Cruise was the same age as Stallone was when he made the latest Top Gun movie. Tom Cruise.
Oh wow!
Tom Cruise has got a lot of work done. I think. I don't know.
No, Scientology is real. Scientology is legit. That's what
Tom Cruise is like. Is the main advertisement for Scientology. That you should start believing in this shit because look at this dude.
If he could give irrefutable proof that like, yes, I paid enough money and now I won't die.
What they need to do, they need to run like one of them computer simulations like they did in this and show what Tom Cruise would look like if he wasn't a Scientologist and it's Sylvester Stallone. It's like,
and then
this
just transforms
into plastic surgery.
Or just show him and Stallone and Tom Cruise fighting. That's what we actually need. Who would just win in a bare knuckle brawl? What do you think?
At that age, though, it's got to be computer simulated.
Yeah, you're right. Like, what did you guys think of Mason Dixon?
It's just another not much of a character. Yeah.
Like, I almost didn't like when they showed the first like clip of him fighting. I was like, who are these guys? Like, it didn't like none of them had charisma. Like, there was nothing about him that was like, oh wow, look at this star. Like, he's the champ, or this, which I guess plays into the whole character that nobody likes him. He's just this boring paper champion that's like, he's just champion and he's fighting chumps or whatever. But like, he wasn't an interesting character. There was nothing about him that was like different. It was just, I almost had a thought. I was like, is this guy a real boxer? Like, is he just like a boxer? I don't know. Like, there was nothing about him that.
I think he was. Him and Tommy Gunn both. Were actual boxers in their life, which kind of explains why, at least in Dixon's case, he's pretty bland.
I like the plot of Dixon. Like, I like that he's an unliked champion, and he's like doing this to get his rep back. And they have that moment where they're like, where he's fighting with his agents, and they're like, "You did this, no, you did this."
Yeah.
Like, I didn't mind that moment, and I like the idea, and I appreciate how the final fight is a win for both of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Like, because I expected Rocky to go the distance, however many rounds the fight was, 10 rounds. I didn't expect him to win. I expected it to be like a mirror of Rocky 1, where he just goes the distance, and that's a win.
And it's decision. Pretty damn
It's
good.
like Mason wins by
split decision.
Yeah. It's a good drawback to it.
Yeah,
it is an interesting insight into the whole like the machine of boxing, I guess, like where it's a business, and they touched on it in Rocky 5 as well, where Tommy gets corrupted by it. It just provides a bit more of that insight. This guy's kind of had his career; he's the champion, but he's been manufactured essentially, and he's like, no, he believes he's a better fighter than he actually is, and there's a lot of those long interview scenes where they're just like, you represent the worst thing about boxing, and the sport is degrading beyond belief. And it's like, I don't think journalists don't talk.
Yeah, these journalists are really cruel.
Yeah, it's all a bit weird, but
yeah.
Mason's Rocky in Rocky 3, if he kept going and his manager kept fixing fights for him and kept picking his opponents, eventually the crowd would have turned on Rocky the same way. Been like, he just fighting losers. But yeah.
I like the detail of Rocky's lost his statue as well. And Paulie's like, is it because they tore your statue down? He's like, no. Like,
but it totally is.
It totally is Rocky. I'd be pretty bummed about that.
Yeah. Like, bit of attention. That's the real statue, isn't it?
Yeah, they did build that.
They built that statue, which is when they said they removed it in this, I was like, wait a minute, is that just for the movie that they removed it? Because I was like, I swear that his statue's up right now in Philadelphia. Because like many people pose with it.
Yeah. Is it still there? I don't actually know. Because I know they did build the real statue, but I'm not sure if they
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah.
Still there now.
It got put up in 1980, and then it's still there.
It's never been taken down. That's a nice segue into did you guys watch the ending credits where it's just a lot of real life footage of people running up the stairs?
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah.
And different for a film. It was sort of like a thing of like, a shout out to you, the fans who've supported us all these years. Like, Rocky giving back to the community.
Yeah.
Classic Rocky.
Exactly, true Rocky. It's like it's that cool, like, this is the requel. It's like, it's an awareness. It's a sequel, but it's also aware of the roots of it. It's like, it knows exactly why you're watching this movie.
Yeah.
There are people like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good film.
Really good.
Yeah. A good palate cleanser after the last.
Yeah.
It is.
And I needed a good Rocky film again. So
definitely felt like a return to form for sure. I just wanted to point out that the dog had a little grey sweatsuit on when they were doing the training montage. Another nice little touch.
Punchy.
A punchy, yeah. Oh, his turtles are back in this.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I assume they're still alive. Yeah.
They live for like hundreds of years, don't they?
I think they. Well, that's tortoises.
I mean, if you watch,
is there really a difference?
Yeah, they can live up to.
There's some difference. Isn't it every tortoise is a turtle, but not every turtle is a tortoise, or something like that?
Knowing the way Rocky abandons his kids, I'm surprised those turtles are still alive after 30 years. They didn't go to Russia with him, that's for sure.
No.
The robot must have been.
The robot's been looking after him for all these years.
I would have loved to see the robot come back at this one, just like a random thing in his closet. He's like, oh god, look at that thing.
Not putting batteries back in that.
This beat down machine.
Double Ace.
Paulie asks after it in the bar. He's like, how's the robot going?
He's like, I've got a new one now. It fits in the palm of my hand.
I was going to make a fleshlight joke there somewhere, but all right. Ranking them for me, it's 654, hands down, no argument.
Not just you, for the objective assessment, it's 654.
645 for me.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't. Like, it just felt ridiculous that he got punched so hard he went back to how he was earlier in life.
He went back in time.
It reverted him back to Rocky 1.
Like, there is a lot of disdain for this movie. I'm looking on Letterboxd now, and there is a lot of like 1 and 2 star reviews. And people
for Balboa.
No, of Rocky 5 specifically.
Right.
I left a couple of them.
Sorry, we're coming back to this because this is a weird thing, and I can't understand it though. So many people are they shit on this movie.
That's the thing. When I was watching it, I was like, holy crap, this is really bad. I do not like this movie. And I came in here 100% expecting us to be like, how bad is Rocky 5? Like, this movie was worse than all of them.
So I can understand some films, when it's like someone's like, this movie's awful. I can understand why. They can be like, yeah, sure, it's bad, but I like it. I can't understand why you hate this movie.
I just hate it though.
I don't know how you can hate it. I don't know how people can hate it more than 4. That, I mean, like, I get 3. Like, I get why I like 3, even though it's silly. But 4,
I didn't like 4.
4 has just so jumped the shark, and I don't know how.
I had so many problems with 4 too. The robot and the montages, 100% as well. But I'll remember 4 for good or worse way more than 5. 4's memorable. It's got iconic stuff from it ish. Ivan Drago's an iconic villain. Like,
Sure.
I'm not going to remember Tommy Gunn 50 years from now.
You kidding me?
I will agree with that. I need to listen to the rewatchables episodes. They do
They're
4 and 5. Yeah.
No, they do 3 and 4.
Oh, 3 and 4. Sorry.
They're the kinds of ones I'm talking about. They're very like, we were born kids in the 80s. So we saw these movies 1,000 times and we loved them.
Yeah. Okay.
And they like, they're good episodes, but they just go on and be like, how great it is. I'm like, no, guys. But Rocky Balboa is a great return to form.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so glad we got it.
I was thinking about Top Gun a lot during this movie for some reason, but just like the last few years, there's been these revivals of like 80s, like even the Bad Boys trilogy we did. Like, I was surprised how good the most recent one was. And I thought it was just Top Gun that had done it well, but there's been a few movies doing that well recently. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Just last thing, touching on Rocky Balboa. Obviously, the final shot is him like disappearing as a ghost in the cemetery.
Yeah.
After waving goodbye. Do you reckon like back then that was like an implication of like Rocky went back to his home planet and died, or like, and then they've done the Creed movie, so they're like, okay, no, he's still alive, or was it just a stylistic choice of him like going back to his house, so he just fades out of the shot instead of walking away?
I think it's that he died after about minute 40, and the rest of the film is his like hallucination on his deathbed.
Yeah, as he's there in front of that grave, he starts thinking about his life.
He never fights Mason Dixon. He never even gets into shape. He's just,
there's no way it goes 10 rounds at that age.
Exactly. Nah. It's not. It's how he wishes he died. Stallone did toy with the idea of killing Rocky at the end of this movie. Like, originally, when I think he wanted to make it, he was going to. But producers were like, no, Rocky doesn't die. Like, a character like Rocky, we can't have that.
Ivan Drago comes out of nowhere and punches him in the head and kills him.
I've been waiting 15 years.
It's like, Russia is back!
It's a punch after the bell, so it doesn't technically count. He still went full 10 rounds, but he dies in the fight.
But he kills him in the end,
How you end it.
Do you reckon we get that in Creed 3? We get Drago come back and he's like, Russia is bad again?
Drago comes back in Creed 2, I think, doesn't he?
He does, but I'm hoping he comes back in 3 as well.
Oh, right.
And he's like, he's fighting a Ukrainian opponent.
30-year-old Drago is back. They rebuilt him from all the chemicals that they took from him back in the 80s. They were able to just replicate him as a person through a 3D printer.
The perfect colonizing machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're not quite done with Rocky. We are going to do the Creed movies, but we are taking a break first. We're going to cover Ant-Man with Quantumania coming out in 2 weeks. I am so Marvel fatigued. I don't know if this movie can pull me out of it. How are you guys feeling?
I feel like if there's a Marvel thing to do that's un-Marvel, like I like Ant-Man. Ant-Man's a lot more comedy than other ones, even though all Marvel's half comedy. But like Paul Rudd's great all the time. And I'm keen for this because everyone talks about this and like Kang being like, it's meant to really set up, okay, we're back in the good MCU now. Like we're in the swing of things. This is going to feel like Thanos times 5. We have a big
villain, yeah.
So I'm interested to see Quantumania. I'm really excited to watch that. I forgot that that's in 2 weeks.
Yeah. The problem is I was tired of it when Thanos was still here. So I'm like, I'm not looking for a new big bad to pull me out of it. So yeah, I'm interested to see this because I remember watching it and just being like, I really didn't care about this movie. But a lot of people talking to him since, are like, no, that was one of the last good ones, really, quote unquote. Or
Ant-Man 2,
No, any of it, even Ant-Man 1.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people have really fond memories like, no, Ant-Man's really, really good. And so I'm curious to see how he holds up. But I am definitely not looking forward to watching them.
I'm going to go back and watch that original trailer that Edgar Wright did and just think about how things could have been.
Yeah. Yeah, what we could have had. Hey?
What we could have had. All right, well, thank you for joining us for The Good, The Bad, and The Worst. This podcast was brought to you by The Taste of Iron by C.V. Clarke. Get it on Amazon. It's great.
Marvel book.
Yeah, it's going to be a CU soon. It'll be a cinematic universe. If you liked listening to us talk about movies, you might like hearing us talk about games and, at the moment, The Last of Us TV show. We're watching that every week and doing a spoiler cast about it. So if you're interested in that, join us on Bonus XP. You can find that at Bonus XP on all your podcast apps and on YouTube. Rate us on Spotify and iTunes, please. It helps us out so much. And thank you for joining us for The Good, The Bad, and The Worst. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.